Kronstadt, the newest Tier 8 Soviet cruiser, has sailed into Legends. Is she worth bringing to your port? Let's find out. So, this ship's reputation has kind of preceded it. On PC, the ship is not exactly known as a powerhouse. More often than not, it's really criticized for its not-so-Soviet bias accuracy. In Legends, maybe a little more of the same, but if you're a fan of Soviet artillery cruisers, you might want to stick around. The game in the background is on Atlantic. It ended up being a pretty decent game and was fun until the end. But it will highlight what Kronstadt can do and maybe give you some ideas on how she can be played. My ship build for this game had aiming systems, propulsion, concealment, and MBM3. My commander's setup was Nikolai Kuznetsov with Mimbelli and AL Scharnhorst, the point being to improve its accuracy a little bit. Did it help? Maybe a little. See, Kron here has a 2.05 Sigma, and that's not bad at all, but rather than having cruiser dispersion ellipses, it actually has American battleship dispersion before artillery plotting room, so it can be questionable at times. A word I hear thrown around a lot with the Kronstadt is wonky. Some of the shots will make you say, what the hell was that? And then others will make you smile. It's just part of the game with Kron. If you don't have AL Scharnhorst, you could maybe use Norm Scott to see if extra grouping would help it a little bit. You could use Von Essen for better ricochet angles or something along those lines. And of course, Makawa, my all-time favorite cruiser inspiration. If you put him on here, you can almost have a stealth radar cruiser. Almost. 12-kilometer detection with a level 16.3 Makawa, and your radar reaches 11.7, so very close, and I guess I don't have to maybe say how powerful stealth radar is in this game. It's pretty good. Other consumables you have: sonar? Nope. Unfortunately, you don't have sonar. You do have catapult fighters and heals, though. The catapult fighters can kind of help you keep ships spotted over islands. Maybe it's helpful for your team. Maybe it helps you a little bit with anti-air capabilities, but not having the sonar kind of sucks. Luckily, you do have some of the best cruiser torp protection in the game at 25%. That's better than a lot of battleships, so that does help a little bit. But really, the ship is not a great destroyer hunter, and we'll get to that a little more. Now, for now, we situated ourselves right in the middle where we could smash ships that were running from side to side, going from A spawn to C spawn, or something like that, and we were rewarded with some pretty heavy damage on a broadside Montana coming across the middle of the map here. I was really surprised to see 2 citadels on him, but it felt really, really good, and I think that just kind of highlights Kronstadt's gameplay style. Now, you might notice we are kind of posted up in a slanted position, and this is for a couple reasons, but the biggest one is because the Kronstadt has really bad bow armor for a tier 8 cruiser or a tier 7 cruiser. Any ship with 356mm guns or 14 inches can overmatch your bow and do tons of damage. What you do have is good side plating, though, so if you angle just enough, you can get bounces on your side plating. On top of that, you have really, really good gun firing angles. So staying a little bit slanted like this, we get 50% more firepower by getting our back guns in the fight. As for avoiding enemy shells, it's just going to come down to playing with your throttle, using the propulsion mod or reversing to try to not take too many shots, because your armor just isn't going to stand up to those big battleship guns. So how do her stats compare to the other tier 8 cruisers? Well, if you've looked over there, the health pool is absolutely massive, 71,000, and hold your horses here because we're going to do something that is very Kronstadt-esque, and that is kill a Minotaur. These Soviet guns with AP are just phenomenal at killing light cruisers, so once again, I'm having a lot of fun with this ship, but okay, back to the stats. So yes, massive health pool, 71,000. On top of that, throw in the best heals of any tier 8 cruiser. I know there's not a lot right now, but still, those heals, this can be a very tanky ship indeed. Effective health pool, over 90,000. The issue, though, can start to arise with the armor. We kind of alluded to it earlier. There is good and there is bad. The bad is the bow armor. Like mentioned, 25 millimeters, it's easily overmatchable, especially at a high tier. The belt, it's great, 230 millimeters. The deck, 27, that's fine. And then the bad parts. While the Citadel is at the waterline, it is massive. And it has two very weak spots at the bow and the stern. So you have to be careful of that. Back to the good though, 25% torque reduction is pretty sweet, and Kronstadt only burns for 30 seconds on Legends. On the PC version of the game, if I remember right, it's 45 seconds. Like the Stalingrad in our game. So only a 30-second burn time, it keeps you from being so susceptible to fires. Onto the guns, they're 305 millimeters. That's pretty big, much bigger than what we're used to on these Soviet artillery cruisers. This is the same caliber of Odin and Alaska, and Kron has a faster based reload than those other two ships. The Alaska and Odin 20 seconds, and Kronstadt is 18.5, I believe. It brings her DPM for AP right into the middle to the low part of the pack for these big cruisers at tier 8, but what do you expect out of pretty much battleship caliber guns? This low reload makes her target of choice really cruisers and broadside battleships. It's hard to have the DPM to get destroyers out of the fight. Obviously shoot them when you can, but you're just not a very good DD hunter. The HE shells do have a 24% fire chance, so yes, you can sling HE if you need to, but really that's 3% lower than Odin and Alaska, so you're at a bit of a disadvantage in starting fires compared to other 305s. I would think AP needs to be your shell of choice, just unless somebody is bow tanking you, like battleships, or you're fighting very heavily armored ships, then you're just going to have to shoot the HE, you don't really have a choice. On to the anti-aircraft. It's terrible. 5-kilometer range is fine, but the DPS is 175. This is the worst for any tier 8 cruiser. Throw in the lack of agility that this ship has, and aircraft carriers are going to be a real problem for you. Speaking of mobility, it's not that great. 33.5 knots for the top speed. That's very un-Soviet cruiser-like, to be honest. Normally they're pretty fast in the Straits. Donskoy base speed 36, Stalingrad 35. So Kron is a bit of a dunce here. And her rudder shift and turning circle are also pretty bad. The concealment, as far as large cruisers go, these large Russian cruisers go, it's not bad. Stalingrad, you can see from space, 15 kilometers base. Riga, 14.2. Donskoy, 14.7. Kron here is 14 flat, so she kind of excels in this area. And with the concealment module and this build, it's at 12.6, which is respectable. Basically, in this concealment area, I would say you just don't want to be getting outspotted by battleships. If you did concealment module in Makawa, you could nearly do the stealth radar, like we mentioned, 11.7 kilometer radar range and 12 kilometer for the concealment. I kind of plan to test that more in the coming days and see how it works. Real quickly, let's check in on the game, and it is not going well. It's been pretty good up until now, but the red team just overran A, and we're going to have a hard time putting the cap back on this one. Overall, the stats of Kronstadt, they look pretty decent. We have a very, very tanky cruiser, basically like a small battleship with good guns and radar. And while it might sound like a small battleship, I would just warn you that you cannot do battleship things. Sitting in the open water and tanking like a normal tier 7, 8, or up BB, it's not going to really work out for you. You just don't have the armor for it, the Citadel roof protection or the bow armor. So you'll take a lot of damage. However, when all the other battleships are away, then you become the battleship. And enemy cruisers are going to have to beware, as that Minotaur found out earlier. And apologies, we'll take a break from our regularly scheduled program to go mute someone on blue team. I always love it. You make it like 10 minutes into a match. You have your headset turned up to maximum to hear the wonderful gun sounds, the seagulls, the rush of the ocean, and then out of nowhere, Skid Row comes through to make your ears bleed with some horrible verbal abuse. Love it. Anyways, back to our regularly scheduled program. As for the gameplay, I think what Kronstadt should do is be sort of an immovable object that holds down lines of sight and makes people pay for crossing that line. Again, with destroyer hunting, like we're seeing with the gearing, it's not, you just don't have the reload for it to really hunt them down, and then also not having sonar is going to make it a little more dangerous when being around DDs. I've had pretty good luck at medium ranges, not necessarily super long ranges like the Stalingrad would be good at, but at medium ranges I find that the accuracy is still okay enough that you can get good results and good dispersion rolls. Playing around caps is great, you know, with your radar you can do that, you just have to be very careful. Again, for the sonar, and also, again, for the armor. It's just not robust enough to sail right into a cap or to park in the middle of the map. The huge range of the radar is very nice, though, to scare DDs away or open them up to taking fire from your teammates. If your teammates can capitalize on that and they know what they're doing, which this is World of Warships Legends, so good luck with that. Overall, for 2,500 doubloons and the Admiralty backing, I of course think this campaign is worth it. Every campaign's worth it. Even if it was the Flanders that you bought, 2,500 dubs is worth it. If you enjoy the Riga or the Stalingrad, then this would not be a bad ship to add to your collection at all. I think you just have to prepare yourself for not having that crazy good Russian accuracy that we are sometimes used to, and if you can prepare yourself for that, then you won't be so disappointed. I think Soviet ships, sometimes we just expect that higher level of performance. It's the running joke of World of Warships that Soviet ships are just better. Not so with the accuracy of this one, but the uniqueness factor. That's what I usually always talk about. When you have over 300 ships in the game and you certainly don't have time to play them all, what do you look for? And for me, it's a unique and fun gameplay style. And Kronstadt fits that for me. And now to critique my gameplay a little bit. I think we started off strong. We did good smacking ships that were running from C to B over to A. We dealt a lot of damage to the Montana and the Alaska, moved up, got the Minotaur away from the cap, radared the gearing, things like that. I feel like it was good until the last maybe 6 or 5 minutes of the match. I was very non-committal, and seeing that we were losing A side so bad, I probably should have done something a little more drastic. Anyways, obviously this one is going to be a loss, so if you'd like to stick around a few more seconds, you can watch me explode in spectacular fashion. I am curious what your guys' thoughts are on the Kronstadt, which is still less disappointing than the Riga, I have to say. Anyways, let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to hear from you. Be sure to smash the like button, it was going to help me out a lot, and it only takes 1 second. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel to not miss any future videos. And with that, catch you guys in the next one. See ya.